conversation with Guru. Guru, it's been really fabulous since we've known each other for the last 2 years. And I think the best thing that goes along with you is humility. I've told most of the people that I've met that Guru is extremely humble when it comes to people. And the kind of team that you're managing at PayPal, it's phenomenal. And like Peter Thiel says, right, no company has a culture. Every company is a culture by itself. Yeah. And on your LinkedIn as well, you talk about you being a culture champion. Would you be able to tell us how is the culture at PayPal?
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, first of all, Rupa, for having me here and also the very kind words. However undeserving it may be, I still think it's. I do what I do because I work for a great company and I have really, really wonderful people to work with. And that's what makes it so joyful, first of all, and also very fulfilling. So, the culture at PayPal, I'd say, is a mixture of very strong purpose, very strong alignment to values, a set of core values, especially collaboration, inclusion, innovation, and wellness. These are the four pillars of our culture, if you will. It's a mixture of passion, purpose, values, and a little bit of, I would say, constructive chaos. We are a very big company, but we're also like a refreshingly chaotic company in the sense that we behave like a startup in some way. And that's what makes the culture so interesting and unique. We're not slaves to any process. There's a kind of optimistic can-do attitude that pervades the entire company, and that's what makes it very interesting for a person like me, because it's so strongly in alignment with my own personal ethos, which is why I like working for PayPal. Sure. So the culture is very open, very, very accessible. Sense of hierarchy is pretty much absent everywhere. Anybody is free to contact anybody else. So you will frequently find engineers who are 1 or 2 years in the company reaching out directly to our CTO, Sri Shivananda, for example, who happens to be an amazing engineer himself first and a great leader second. And it's for me to witness that. For me, it's been about 4 years at PayPal now, so I can't play the new guy card anymore. I think I stopped playing that a couple of years ago at least. But for me, from the beginning, I think when I came into the company, that is one element that really struck a chord inside me. The fact that people are so accessible, so humble, so amazing at what they do, but still never wear it on their sleeve as some kind of achievement.
Sure. Let's talk about more in terms of, topic of our interest,
Yeah.
which is technology and tech hiring. And, Bangalore is the hub where you have so much of supply as well as demand. Demand for these folks is immense. Now, when you talk about culture at PayPal, does that really, how can you define the tech culture? Whether be it interviewing style, hiring, retention of these people, how does it work for you
Sure.
guys?
So first, let's talk about why it's important for us as a business, right? Our business is completely predicated on our ability to do well with technology. So while we are in it to democratize access to financial services, to make the management and movement of money easier in the world, we believe that technology is a true force through which this vision can be brought to life. So it's important for us when we're talking about millions of customers, and let's look at the scale of our business, right? Potentially, every single person on the planet is a customer of ours because money is such a fundamental human attribute, the use of money, the connection to money, the emotions associated with money. And for us, potentially everybody on the planet could be a PayPal customer one day if money goes truly digital to the extent that it should. So it's important for us to dream at that scale, to dream big, and also to hire the kind of people who can get us there. So imagine a world where you have billions of transactions happening. Every single second you have things going on. The scale at which the technology infrastructure and your software has to operate at demands a certain kind of talent. So we want to hire the best and brightest and people who want to make a difference in the world and who want to be a force for good in the world. So our hiring baseline skills, definitely we want awesome engineers, awesome product managers, awesome customer support professionals. All the elements that it takes to run our business, we want really good people in it. And let me talk about engineering in particular, right? Because we're talking about technology, maybe engineering and product. We want people to have solid fundamentals, right? So our interview process is an exercise in making sure that people come to the table not necessarily with domain skills, maybe where it's relevant, that's also important. For example, product management, we would like to see domain skills as far as possible. But in technology, I think it's more about the basics, more about the fundamentals, how strong you are, and then how well are you going to be able to align with our culture. Will you be the kind of collaborative person who will get along really well with others? Because we have no interest, as Reed Hastings at Netflix says, in hiring brilliant jerks, right? You can have really brilliant people who can be very toxic and will cause greater harm than good in the company. So we always try to strike a balance between exceptional people who are good at what they do, who have a learning mindset, who are constantly eager to get to learn more and more, at the same time who take some joy in other people succeeding. Because for me, that's a mark of an individual who is actually going to be a force for good in the world, where you will invest time in others, even if it means they're going to shine brighter than you. And we like to detect those qualities in engineers when we hire them.
Sure, sure. Moving along to look at how fintech's actually done in India. So, if I had to take a look at the current ecosystem, everyone's talking about fintech. Everything's revolving around fintech, and very well put by you in terms of how money becomes the most important part of all of our lives, right? And with digital money, everything moving that specific place, and PayPal exactly being in that region. Would you be able to tell me that what is it that we have in future for payments from PayPal?
So, if you look at how money has evolved till now, we've gone through centuries where we even had systems like barter, where the value exchange was very direct in terms of I have a certain good, you have a certain good, we exchange it, we come to some understanding of what the exchange value is, and we do that. Then we disintermediated that with money, the concept of currency or coins or cash, whatever, right? And now we are coming to a mode where we are going to be a little more digital in the way we do everything in our life, and hence it's also understandable that money becomes digital. Now, when it comes to the use of digital money today, what do you see, right? In India, for example, one of the key elements of using digital money, which differs from physical money, is that in digital money, you are transacting with people potentially who are thousands of miles away from you. You don't see them. When you are going to your neighborhood store, somewhere where you've shopped for decades, there's a certain amount of trust that is already built up with that person. Let's say you go to your corner shop and you want to buy a packet of milk and you don't have any money on you. That person is likely to say, hey, don't worry, come back tomorrow and pay me. That's okay. I see you every day. It's not a problem. I've seen you, I've seen your grandparents, whatever, right? Sure. With digital money, that's not possible anymore because you're transacting with people far away, potentially, and inserting trust into that equation becomes the job of an intermediary like us at PayPal. So I like to say that we are not in the payments business, we are actually in the trust business. We need to insert this trust. So a market like India, for example, inherent levels of trust in the system are fairly low, which is why you have things like a one-time password, the OTP that comes to your phone. When you're transacting online, you enter your credit card number, you get an OTP on your phone. Why is it even necessary? Because fundamentally you're afraid that somebody could be misusing this, right? You can't trust, and that's why you need to insert trust through some mechanism like an OTP. Now think about it from the other side. For a merchant, an OTP is actually an element of friction. It causes 1 more second of delay or 2 more seconds of delay or more than that for a customer, and any delay for a customer is time that the customer has to change their mind or search on a different website or do something, or network goes down. There could be a million different reasons why that transaction fails to complete because of that friction. So for a payments company like us, one of the biggest things that we need to do is, without compromising security, can we insert trust into the system without friction? Sure. So frictionless experiences is one huge key of area of focus for all payments companies, because we are measured on how well we can convert a customer who comes to the shopping page to actually be a paying customer, right? That's the one measure that we can tell our merchants, hey, we are really good at making sure when they land on the payment page, they actually transact and give you money. Sure. Then if you look at payments itself, right? When you're shopping on, I don't know, any of the Indian websites, Myntra, for example, right, who's a customer of ours, so plug for my customer, you're going there to buy something. You're going there to buy clothes, buy accessories, whatever. You're not going there thinking, oh wow, let me try out this payment method, right? Let me get the joy of transacting. No. The payment is just a necessary evil in the aspect of buying. It's some you need to do it in order to get what you want, what you need. Now, what if payments could be ambient in nature? What if a powerful combination of data, your spending habits, your bank information, etc., could be used very well by a trusted intermediary like PayPal as a payments company without compromising it, without sharing it with anybody? So that payment just happened, receded into the background, it just happened without you having to intervene all the time in it. A classic example is what happens when you take a ride with one of our customers again, Uber.
Right.
You get in and you go to your destination and you get out, and payment just happens in the background, right? And that's the best kind of experience where it is ambient, where you don't even have to think about it, don't have to notice it.
Right.
And as time goes on, one more aspect of fintech that's important is if you look at the way work is changing today, we are moving into a realm where the gig economy is very prevalent. The millennials and the generation that comes after it are less likely to value job continuity, and they are more likely to value experiences in their life. And this is borne out by research. So, which means that income streams, like how it was for my dad or for your parents, it's not like you're wedded to a job for the rest of your lifetime. It could even be that you're doing 2 or 3 different jobs in a year, where you take on a gig here, you take on a gig there, etc. So income smoothing, access to services that will allow you to plan your finances better, in a world where everything is becoming a subscription based service, how can a payments company insert itself and become a true financial services company that will help the next generations manage money in a world where jobs are fluid, lifestyles are fluid, etc. So there's a lot happening, and I think that in order to do it at the scale that can actually deliver hyper personalized experiences, it can't be a one size fits all. Every single individual is different, and they will expect that difference to delightfully surface up to them without ever having to think about it. So for a company like PayPal, our thinking is all around what is the next generation of payments for us. It's not just inserting a credit card and getting the payment through. It's a lot more than that.
Wow, very well put. In fact, when you were actually talking about how you want to make this a seamless approach, I was thinking about the amount of data that must be going in the background. And you guys have been around since 1998, so I can imagine this would be maybe a triple digit petabytes kind of data that you guys deal with. So that brings us to the next big thing, which is the buzzword nowadays, which is AI and machine learning. Should I call it deep learning with you guys or machine learning?
All of the above.
All of the
We do
above.
machine learning as well
So
as deep
I'm
learning.
just
yes.
curious to understand how all of this fits in.
Yeah.
Because at one end you said it's going to be seamless, then you spoke about trust, and here it's because it's a regulated function. How do these things come from a tech perspective? How do they get
How do we solve this very, very meaty problem?
Yeah.
And that's the reason why people join us. Speaking to you as a professional in the field of talent acquisition, this is one of the things that excites great people. They want to come and solve these mountainous problems. And when I look at, you were very right. It's a triple digit petabyte number. So we are talking about close to about 380 petabytes of data that are on our systems across the years that we've been in existence. To put things in perspective for your listeners, if you were to burn this data onto DVD drives, and maybe there are listeners who ask, what is a DVD drive, right? Anyway, assuming that they can Google it and find it, if we were to burn all this data onto DVD drives and actually stack them up, this would be the height of roughly 8 Mount Everests.
Wow.
That's the kind of data, right? So that visually puts into perspective the literally mountains of data that we have. Now, this helps us in a variety of different ways. Traditionally, what we have done with this data is to help our business become even better at what it is already really, really good at, which is security.
Sure.
It's a non-compromisable characteristic of our business. You have to be secure. You do not have the luxury of being secure in a slow way. You have to be secure in an extremely fast way. What I mean by that is, when you're paying on a website, you don't want that payment, that actual aspect of payment to take more than a few milliseconds. Maybe 1 or 1.5 seconds at best, or 2 seconds, right? If it drags on for 5 minutes, you are going to assume that this is not working, and you're going to just close your browser window or whatever, and you're going to move on. Now, which means that it has to really be fast, and If you have to be fast and secure, you cannot do it in a manual way. You have to automate all of this. You have to use data in an extremely smart way to make sure that you're making the right decision when to allow a transaction and when to block it. The safest mechanism will be to block all transactions. Then you have no fraud at all because you're blocking everything. But that's the lousiest experience for a customer because nothing is getting through. Right. So you have to strike that balance between figuring out when to allow and when not to allow. So for us, in the financial services industry, any company that moves money, especially huge volumes of it, for us, last year we did $578 billion in payment volume. So for us to move that kind of money, any system that moves that money, you can bet that there are people whose daily livelihood depends on trying to siphon money off of it, trying to perpetrate fraud. And PayPal has its share of people who go to work in the morning and come home in the evening, and the entire day, all they are trying to do is to see if they can poke holes and get some money off of PayPal, right? So for us, our fraud loss rates are less than 1/3 of 1%, which is an extremely small number compared to any other payments company in the world. And that accounts for why we are so profitable as a business, because we lose very little to fraud. Sure. And the way we do that is by using this mountain of data, triangulating all different data points about a customer to see which anomalies occur in a payment and saying, okay, that doesn't look right. This person usually shops for these kinds of things from these locations, from these IP addresses, etc., etc., etc. But how come today something different is happening? And can we find out more about whether this is an anomaly or if it's okay? And then all of this has to happen in roughly about 200, 300 milliseconds. Mm-hmm. Right? And you have to say yes or no to the transaction. So that's one of the areas where we use AI and ML heavily. And there are more, the straightforward fraud, somebody takes over an account, somebody spoofs somebody, that is relatively simple. There's also more very complex fraud where some buyers and some sellers collude with each other to defraud PayPal. Wow. Because PayPal has a unique value proposition that not too many other companies have. In fact, I don't know if any other company has, which is we protect both our sellers as well as the buyers. So we have buyer protection and seller protection. For whatever reason, you're not happy with your purchase, PayPal will refund the money. For whatever reason, if you find as a seller you don't get your money from the buyer, PayPal will intervene and will give you the money, as long as you can prove that you did the right thing in sending the product, etc. Right? So this is a powerful value. And now sometimes buyers and sellers collude to actually start defrauding PayPal. Finding that fraud is actually extremely complex, and it cannot be done if you don't have the right deep learning algorithms to actually detect which sets of buyers and sellers are likely to collude with each other. So those kinds of sophisticated things in risk and fraud and security has been there for a long time. We are now beginning to also look at other areas where it can help our business. Mm-hmm. For example, customer support. We get roughly about 60 million customer calls every year. And a significant chunk of those is actually to find out about, hey, can I get some details about a transaction that I don't understand or I don't recognize? 11% of them actually. So now if we were able to actually equip our customer support executives or use other channels like chat, etc., to even prevent, have people even not call us, right? Because these are things that they can solve on their own easily, and that will be a better experience than having to pick up the phone, call, stay on the line, etc. So we are trying to use AI and ML to figure out what is the best next action for a customer. How can we get chatbots within chatbots, or even when they call, automation of some of these things to make sure that you can give them a remedy even before they ask the question, hey, I'm stuck. We can say, I think you're stuck here, and would you like to do this, right? And that's it. People will be like, wow, even before I asked, they knew what I wanted. Mm-hmm. That's a great experience. So can we do things like this? 300,000 servers, that's what we have in our fleet right now. To deliver PayPal.com, we have 300,000 servers that are serving traffic from around the world for all the transactions that happen. In these servers, any problem could be occurring at every second. Some server or the other could be experiencing a problem. If we were to manually detect and remedy this, it would take an eternity, it would bog things down, and we would always be in a firefighting mode, right? Sure. So we have moved to using data through instrumentation. We have instrumented all these systems. We detect signals that indicate that some problem might be happening, and we solve it even before it becomes a problem. So there are an innumerable number of ways in which AI and ML could be used. And we are beginning to, I'd say, only scratch the surface of how transformative it's going to be to our business.
Wow. Well, when I do look at it, because there was some feed that I was looking at in LinkedIn where there was a robot which was actually responding to queries of a customer. So from chatbot to robots, right? So tech is really advancing. And when I hear about how well PayPal's using all the data, just wanted to know, because these are 2 points which keep coming back in my mind in terms of blockchain, or if you were to even talk about Bitcoin. So, because you are with the fintech space, so would you be able to tell us, is PayPal even looking at any of these sections closely for India, from a tech perspective?
A very good question. And for us, I think as a global company, pretty much all of our initiatives are global in nature, unless they are regulatory compliance driven or some specific need in the market that is very unique to that country. Only then will we look at a country specific solution. An example of that would be, say, data localization in India. That's something that's uniquely Indian. There are different laws around the world with different countries, but in India, the law is very specific to India, so we would have to build a solution for India.
Right.
Similarly, UPI is a payment mechanism that's unique to India, so we will accommodate it within our platform for India. But when it comes to blockchain and Bitcoin, I think these are probably universal in their applicability, and so whatever work we are doing and we are looking to do actually has global relevance. So it's not something we are doing only for India. So the answer to your question is yes, we are very interested in these technologies. And most often what people end up doing is they conflate these two concepts, right? They talk about blockchain and Bitcoin in kind of like as if they both are the same thing.
Correct.
So blockchain, the technology, extremely promising. Like all technologies, will take some time to mature. Just taking the example of the internet itself, the underpinnings of the internet, the dream actually began in the 1960s. But for it to mature and truly develop into something that delivered tremendous value, it was a few decades later. And blockchain will also have a similar evolutionary journey where it will need some time to mature as a technology. And we are closely following these developments to see the applicability of blockchain as a technology within the payments ecosystem, and how we can participate in it and how we can contribute to it. When it comes to Bitcoin specifically, so this, of course, there's been a lot of speculatory hype, a lot of people who have either lost or made a ton of money on Bitcoin and other similar cryptocurrencies, right? So for us as a business, we cater to two primary sets of stakeholders as a business. One are the sellers and the other the buyers. In pockets, we see some demand from buyers saying, hey, PayPal, can you accept Bitcoin? From the sellers, we have never seen a case where a seller says, I'm not going to use PayPal because they don't support Bitcoin.
Sure.
And almost never have we even seen some seller coming and saying, hey, can you please support Bitcoin? Which means that fundamentally the demand is not there widespread, at least as widespread as people believe it is by going by the hype, that businesses are demanding Bitcoin as the only mode of currency. Not at all. Actually, we haven't seen that. But will there be a time when such a world might emerge? Absolutely. So, is there anything that precludes us from using it if that happens? No. We can easily accommodate it as yet another currency type within our system and start allowing people to transact. It's just that right now it's not a business imperative for us. But that doesn't mean that we are ignoring it. We are keeping a very close watch on it. And at a time when this becomes very real and very much a customer need, because we are a customer obsessed company, we will do what it takes to make sure that the customers are happy.
Sure. So if I need to reflect on a couple of things you said, and just going with what everyone's talking about PayPal as well, you guys seem to be extremely transparent in your approach, whether be it internal or external, right? That's the reason you're called the great place to work. How, and I think I'm allowed to ask this question, because how do you look at diversity within your own team? You manage a very large team. So how are you looking at diversity hiring for PayPal? So how has that been?
No, I think this is one of those mega trends, if I can call it that, that has really taken shape over the last maybe 7-8 years, maybe even less than that, right? And I personally feel a great sense of comfort that the world is headed in the right direction if aspects like these start becoming commonplace, easily discussable, no taboo associated with it. And in fact, a sign that a company is great is if it is diverse. It's wonderful because there are two fundamental reasons why diversity is important for me as an employee of PayPal and also me as a human being, right? Sure. When I talk about PayPal, what is it in it for PayPal? Are we doing it just because it's the current topic du jour? No, it's a business imperative as well. One, our products are used around the world, 203 different markets around the world, by people of different religions, different races, different colors, different whatever, right? Every aspect of human diversity is mirrored in our customer base. So for us to be a customer centric company means that we have to be empathetic to the needs of all of these different customers. And if we only have one type of employee, how are we going to say that we can be empathetic to all these different types of customers? Our own employee base has to mirror at least a portion of that diversity for us to be able to connect with those customers truly at the heart, right? So, in that sense, diversity is not just a social imperative for us, it's also a business imperative because for us to build great products, we need to be diverse inside. But more than that, it's not even about a business imperative being the most important one. It's the right human thing to do. If any of us, were on the receiving end of what it feels like to not be included, and at all times in our life, whether you're a man or a woman, you've experienced this. At some point, sure, in some gathering, you felt like you're not wanted there. And it's a very bitter feeling in your mouth. Why would we as companies ever want our customers or our employees to feel that way? I think it's the right human thing to do to actually be inclusive in every form, and gender diversity is just one of them, right? So us here at PayPal, I mean globally as well as here, some staggering numbers. About 44% of our workforce is diverse, which is gender diverse, which is amazing. We have achieved full pay parity across genders in around the world for PayPal, and these are public numbers that you can find on the web. A significant portion of our senior leadership is gender diverse as well as culturally diverse. Our board is also extremely diverse. So you can see that at all levels this is important to us. Now, in India, it's a big focus for us. Gender diversity being one of those areas of focus, but a significant and important area of focus. The challenge there is the funnel itself is rather narrow. You have fewer girls entering STEM-oriented fields, which means that you have fewer girls being employable in a software company or an IT company. And so companies have to compete for all that great talent. And there's no other way to do it but by having a workplace that makes it very attractive and very, very welcoming and warm for a woman to come and work there, right? But gender diversity is just one aspect. A few years ago, we also looked at it from the perspective of our value system. We are in the business of democratizing access to financial services, making money something that doesn't have barriers for people depending on whether they're poor or rich. So what about people that we bring into our workplace? How about these kids who are probably in underprivileged sections of society, who haven't had the kind of breaks that we have had? What about them? How do they get into PayPal? So we started a pilot in Tamil Nadu. We went to some of these colleges where a significant chunk of their student population come from families where these kids are first time learners. Nobody else in their family has been educated, right? These are kids of auto rickshaw drivers, mechanics, maid servants, etc. And we did not lower the bar. We kept the same hiring bar that we keep for when we go to an IIT or a VIT or any other college, right? And we said, we are going to, if we lower the bar, then a person who gets in through that interview will always have the tag of, okay, this person came in because the bar was lowered. And that doesn't do them any favors. It doesn't do us any favors. And we touched about 1,500 kids the first time around across different colleges in the Coimbatore area. And we selected 3 interns that year. So we brought on board 3 interns. The next year we had about 7. All 3 of them got converted to full-time recent college grad employees. And currently we have about 12, 13 of our engineers in our centers coming from this pool. And this is a commitment that we have to do it every year. We are doing it every single year. The number of employees who express a desire to participate in something like this is very heartening. The minute we announce that we are doing an economic inclusion drive, a lot of people put up their hands and say, hey, can I travel? Can I be an interviewer? I'd love to do this. For me, one of the most touching aspects of this was the first time when we did this, we said, okay, let's bring some of these employees in even before we were ready to actually bring them in. We selected them, right? And there was a period where they were still in college and we were waiting for them to finish. I said, we're holding a weekend hackathon. Let's bring them in as volunteers. Let them experience our work, right? So we had these three kids from Coimbatore. And that was the very first time in their life that they'd ever flown on an aircraft. So they had never been on an airplane before. And the kind of excitement, the kind of energy, and the kind of gratitude that they have, I think it made it all worth it, right? And here's the amazing thing. All of these kids who came in, they're all doing phenomenally well. So we have a 3-point rating system inside PayPal when we do our performance evaluation. A significant number of them are actually performing at the among the best level, which is a validation of the fact that you don't need a great start in life with rich parents to actually do well. What you need is the kind of attitude and gumption and a sense of gratitude for what you have in the world to make the best of what you get. Right? And that's being played out by these employees.
Sure, sure. So just to wrap this up, I think there are three takeaways from, from whatever I've heard from you. One is great place to work because of the fact that you're dealing with the real problems of money and looking at how to automate it and make it seamless for most of us. We don't even think of it while we are transacting. The second is the way that you've defined how the culture is, right? It's just not from your end, it flows from the top and all around PayPal. I think it's been a phenomenal discussion with you on these aspects. And third is definitely for everyone who's watching out there, I think it's a great platform for them to understand that what really goes behind scenes of PayPal. It's not just a brand name.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Rupa. And these are very insightful questions. Thanks for the opportunity because I can talk 19 to the dozen when it comes to PayPal, and I love answering any questions that people may have.
You've been very kind. Thank you
you.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.